Night in Los Angeles was a living thing, neon veins running through cracked streets, the hum of music spilling from bars, the smell of gasoline and rain. In the middle of it all, on a quiet corner off Sunset Boulevard, a small club pulsed under a flickering sign that read El Paraíso. Inside, light and shadow melted together. Bodies moved, laughter rose, and somewhere among them, a woman danced as if her life depended on it. Her name was Camila Torres, though no one ever asked. To most, she was just the dancer with the sad eyes. The one who never smiled when the music stopped. She'd come to LA 3 years ago, with a suitcase full of dreams and a letter of recommendation that meant nothing. Her goal had been the stage. Ballet, grace, applause. But life had other plans. Her first audition ended with pitying looks and a whispered, "Asterisk, you're too damaged for this industry. Asterisk too damaged. Now, under the haze of red light." Her body told stories her voice never could. Each movement was a confession. Each turn, a plea. The customers watched her like something to own, but one man watched her like something he'd lost long ago. He sat in the back booth, alone, his glass untouched. A sharp suit. Silver cufflinks. Eyes the color of cold smoke. He didn't belong here. Alejandro Morales. Known in half the country by another name, El Silencio. Lord of the Morales Cartel. He was the kind of man whose silence filled rooms, whose power didn't need to be spoken. He'd come to Los Angeles under the illusion of business. New routes. New alliances, a quiet war being planned in shadows. But tonight, he wasn't here for war. He was here for her. Camila felt him before she saw him. Every dancer did. That sense of being watched. Of being known. When her eyes met his, something inside her stuttered. Not recognition, something deeper. Like two wounds finding each other in the dark. Her body faltered for half a beat before she caught herself. Spinning again, letting the rhythm hide the tremor in her chest. When the song ended, she bowed, collected her tips, and walked backstage. Her hands shook as she wiped the sweat from her skin. "Camila," the manager called. "Private booth, room 3. He asked for you." Her stomach sank. Her stomach sank. "I don't do private rooms," he offered 10,000. She froze. 10? The manager's smile was small and cold. "Don't make me ask twice." Room 3 smelled of whiskey and rain. Alejandro was waiting, seated, his posture perfect. He didn't look at her when she entered. "Sit," he said. Camila stayed standing. "You paid for time, not obedience." That made him look up. His gaze was slow, deliberate, the kind that stripped you without touching. "What's your price, Corazon Rodo?" He asked quietly. "My name isn't that." "No," he said. "But it should be." She crossed her arms. "You came to make fun of me, or?" "I came to see why a woman dances like she's trying to forget her own heartbeat." Camila laughed bitterly. "You think you can read people that easily?" "I don't read them," he said. "I break them." Her smile vanished. "Then you'll have to find another project." She turned to leave, but his voice followed her. Low, steady, dangerous. "I know who you are." Camila stopped cold. "You don't. You were in Juarez 2 years ago. Dance troupe burned down in a warehouse fire. 6 dead." Her pulse spiked. "That's not— You survived," he said softly. "Barely." She spun to face him, fury flaring. "You have no right. I lost someone that night too," he interrupted. "A friend. He was protecting a shipment that went missing." She blinked. "Shipment?" He nodded. "Drugs, money, my men. I buried him because someone burned that warehouse to hide what they stole." Camila's voice shook. "You think that was me?" He didn't answer, just studied her face, the tremor in her hands. The way pain and rage twisted together behind her eyes. "I think," he said finally. "You're the only survivor for a reason." Outside. Thunder rolled. Camila stepped closer, her voice a whisper. "You don't know what happened that night. Then tell me." "You wouldn't believe me. Try me." She stared at him, the scar under his eye, the faint gray in his hair, the stillness that came only from men who'd seen too much. "I was supposed to perform," she said finally. "We were rehearsing when they came. Men with guns, masks. They took the money, the drugs, whatever was hidden there. They killed everyone else. I only lived because I was under the stage. And you never told the police, would you? She whispered. Alejandro exhaled slowly. Whoever those men were, they started a war I've been cleaning up ever since. Camila swallowed. And now you think killing me will end it? He looked at her for a long moment, then said quietly, if I wanted you dead, you would have never made it to the stage tonight. The silence between them was unbearable. Finally, she whispered, then what do you want from me? He rose from the chair, towering but calm. To know why, after everything, you still dance. Camila's eyes glistened. Because it's the only time I feel alive. For the first time that night, something flickered behind his gaze. Recognition, or maybe pity. Then dance for me now, he said softly. Not for money. Not for the crowd. Just once for yourself. She hesitated, then shook her head. You wouldn't understand. I wouldn't have asked if I didn't want to. So she did. Barefoot, silent, trembling. She moved through the small room as thunder shook the city outside. No music. Just her breath in the storm. And when it ended, Alejandro stood there motionless, his glass untouched. His voice low and unguarded. I was right, he said. You dance like you're trying to survive your own heart. She stared at him, chest heaving. And you watch like you forgot how to feel yours. He smiled, a broken thing. Maybe that's why we met. Camila stepped back, her heart pounding. Whatever this is, it ends here. He nodded once as if he'd expected that. Then remember this. Mi ballerina Rhoda, he said, his voice like a promise and a warning. You walked into my world tonight, and whether you like it or not, I don't forget the things that make me feel. When she left the room, the rain had stopped, but outside, in the reflection of the club's broken neon, she saw him standing beneath the awning, watching her leave, the man who owned half the city, undone by the girl who danced as if her soul were still on fire. And in that moment, neither of them knew it yet, but she had just become his weakness. Morning came slow over Los Angeles, bleeding light through a haze of smog and memory. Camila Torres walked home with her shoes in her hand, the city still half asleep around her. The rain from the night before had turned the pavement into a mirror, reflecting her like a ghost she didn't quite recognize. Her tiny apartment sat above a pawn shop on Temple Street, the kind of place where walls had ears and dreams went to die quietly. Inside, she peeled off her damp clothes, washed the makeup from her face, and stared at the girl in the mirror, the one with bruised circles under her eyes and a body that no longer felt like her own, but there was something new there too. Something she didn't want to name. The memory of him. Alejandro Morales. El Silencio. His voice still lingered, low, deliberate, the kind that stayed long after the words were gone. You walked into my world tonight, mi ballerina Rhoda. She told herself it meant nothing. That she'd seen his type before, powerful men who mistook curiosity for control. But this one was different. He hadn't looked at her like she was something to own. He'd looked at her like she was something he couldn't, and that was what terrified her most. 3 days passed before she saw him again. The club was nearly empty that night. A Tuesday lull. The lights flickered, the air stale. Camila was backstage lacing her shoes when Rosa, one of the older dancers, leaned close and whispered, Your storm is back. Camila frowned. Who? The man in the corner booth. The one who doesn't smile. Her stomach tightened. She walked out anyway. The music began, slow, heavy with longing. She moved through the rhythm like she always did, her body remembering what her heart tried to forget. But when her eyes met his, she faltered. He sat in the same place, same glass of whiskey untouched. But this time, his expression was different. Not hunger, not command. Something softer. Something dangerous. After the set, she headed straight for the dressing room, hoping he'd leave. But Rosa stopped her at the door, handing her a folded envelope. He said, It's for you. Camila froze. Did he say anything else? Rosa shook her head. Just that you'd know what it meant. Camila hesitated before opening it. Inside, no money, no message. Just a single ticket stub. Los Angeles Ballet. Company, Friday, front row. Her breath caught. She hadn't told anyone about her past. Not even Rosa. Only he could have known. Friday night came, and with it the sound of rain again, soft, relentless. She told herself she wouldn't go. That she wasn't that girl anymore, the one who used to dream in rhythm and pain. But at 7:45, she found herself walking toward the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, the theater glowing gold against the storm. She didn't have to ask for her seat. They were expecting her. Front row. Center. And there he was, seated 3 seats away. Black suit, calm as always. When she sat down, he didn't look at her. Not at first. Only when the lights dimmed and the music began did he speak, his voice barely above a whisper. I wanted you to remember what beauty feels like when it's not for survival. Camila didn't respond. Her eyes stayed fixed on the stage, where dancers moved like shadows made of grace. For the first time in years, she let herself feel it, not the pain of loss, not the exhaustion of fighting, but the ache of wanting something pure again. When the curtain fell, applause thundered through the hall. Alejandro stood, motioned toward the exit. Walk with me. She hesitated, then followed. Outside, the rain had eased into a mist. Downtown shimmered beneath streetlights. They walked in silence for a long time, their footsteps echoing on wet pavement. Finally, she asked, Why are you doing this? He didn't look at her. Because I wanted to see if you'd come, and if I hadn't. He stopped, turning to face her. Then I'd have known you were already gone. Camila's heart pounded. You don't know me. I know enough, he said softly. I know you still dance when no one's watching. I know you keep your father's photo in your drawer. And I know that the night the warehouse burned, you lost more than your friends. You lost yourself. Her voice broke. You've been following me. He nodded once. Yes, why? Because I couldn't stop. The rain began again, light, slow, merciful. Camila stepped back. You think this is noble? That watching me saves you from whatever guilt you carry? He exhaled. You think too small, ballerina. You saved me before you even knew who I was. Her voice was barely a whisper. How? He looked at her. Really looked. Because for the first time in years, I wanted something that didn't bleed when I touched it. She turned away, her breath trembling. You shouldn't want me, Alejandro. He smiled faintly. I don't know how to stop. They stood there, the storm wrapping around them like a secret. Finally, she whispered, You destroy everything you love. His answer was quiet, honest. I know, that's why I've been trying not to love you. Her tears mixed with rain. Then don't. He stepped closer, so close she could feel the warmth of his breath. You say that like it's a choice. Camila swallowed hard. Whatever this is, it can't end well. He nodded slowly. I've never known anything that did. Then he did something she didn't expect. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a small silver chain and placed it in her hand, a pendant shaped like a broken wing. Why give me this? She whispered, because even broken things still fly. She looked up, eyes wet, voice shaking. You think I'll forgive you for what your world did to mine? No, he said softly. I think you'll make me pay for it. And then he walked away, leaving her standing beneath the rain, clutching the wing between her fingers, a piece of mercy from a man who didn't believe in it. That night, back in her apartment, she sat by the window, the pendant glinting faintly under the city lights. For the first time in years, she didn't feel empty. She felt something dangerous, something like longing. And in the dark, when thunder rolled again, she whispered to no one, You were right, Alejandro. Because even broken things still flew. And she was about to learn just how high she could go before she fell. The pendant hung cold against her skin. Days passed. And Camila Torres told herself it meant nothing, just another trick. Another beautiful lie from a man who ruled over graves and gold. But the chain had weight. Not in silver, but in memory. Every time it touched her collarbone, she remembered his voice. Even broken things still fly. She hated that she wanted to believe it. Los Angeles pulsed restlessly around her. Lights flickering. Sirens echoing, rain falling on rooftops that never forgot pain. She went to work, danced, came home. Pretended not to feel the world shifting. But Alejandro Morales was not a man you could pretend away. He started showing up, not at the club. Not in her dreams, but in the small spaces between her days. A black car idling across the street. A stranger leaving flowers she never asked for. The quiet certainty that someone was watching, not to harm her, but to make sure no one else did. He didn't call. He didn't visit. But he was everywhere, and that terrified her more than hate ever could. One night, after a late shift, she walked home through the narrow alley behind the club. The air smelled of rain and cheap perfume, the kind that clung to the walls long after the lights went out. That's when she saw it, a shadow move behind her. "Camila," a voice whispered. She turned fast, heart racing. It wasn't Alejandro. It was Rosa, pale and shaking, eyes wide with terror. "Rosa?" "What are you doing?" Before she could finish, Rosa grabbed her hand. "They know Mia. They know who he is. And they know you've seen him." "Who?" "Cortez's men." The name hit her like a blade. Rafael Cortez. Alejandro's rival, the man trying to tear down the Morales empire piece by piece. Camila's voice broke. "What do they want?" Rosa's lip trembled. He made you his weakness, and now they'll use you to find him." Camila's blood ran cold. "No." Rosa nodded, tears spilling. "Run, please, tonight." Before Camila could answer, a sound split the air, the sharp crack of a gunshot. Rosa gasped, her body jerking once before collapsing into Camila's arms. "Rosa!" Blood pooled fast. Too fast. Cam. I looked up. Two men stood at the mouth of the alley, faces hidden by the rain. She didn't think, she ran. The streets blurred into a smear of light and shadow. Her breath tore through her chest, her shoes slipping on the wet pavement. She darted across an empty lot, over a chain-link fence. Down another alley, her pulse louder than the thunder overhead. She turned a corner and crashed into someone. Strong hands caught her before she fell. "Camila." She froze. That voice. Alejandro. He was soaked, unarmed, his expression unreadable. "You're bleeding." "It's not mine," she gasped. "They killed Rosa." His eyes darkened, hardening into the calm of violence. "Cortez's men?" She nodded, breath trembling. "They said I was your weakness." He exhaled slowly, jaw tightening. "They're right." "Don't say that." He grabbed her shoulders, his voice a low growl. "You think you can dance your way out of this? You're already part of my war." Her tears broke loose, mixing with the rain. "I never asked to be." "I know," he said, his voice cracking. "But I made you mine the moment I watched you on that stage." She shook her head. "Don't talk like that." "I can't help it," he said softly. "You became the only thing I still felt in a world that stopped feeling a long time ago." They drove for hours out of the city into the hills. The rain turned the roads into rivers of shadow. Camila stared out the window, silent, numb. Rosa's blood still staining her hands. Finally, Alejandro stopped near an old vineyard north of the city, his private estate. She realized, half forgotten and far from the noise. Inside, the house was empty except for the echo of their footsteps. He poured her whiskey, his hand trembling slightly when he handed it to her. "Drink." "I don't want to. It'll stop the shaking." She looked at him, this man who commanded death, standing before her like someone who just realized he could bleed. "You shouldn't have found me tonight," she whispered. He looked up sharply. "If I hadn't, you'd be dead." "Maybe that's better than being your weakness." His face went still. "Don't ever say that." "Why not?" "It's true. Everyone who touches you dies, Alejandro." His hand slammed down on the table. "Not you." The sound echoed through the empty room. She flinched. He exhaled, softer now. "Not you," he repeated, quieter. "Never you." The silence that followed was unbearable. Finally, she whispered, "You can't keep saving me. You'll get yourself killed." He smiled faintly. "Then maybe I'll die for something that matters." "Don't," she said, voice breaking. "Don't make me that." "What?" "Your redemption." He took a step closer. "Too late." Camila's breath hitched. "You think this is love?" "No," he said. "This is everything I shouldn't feel." "Then stop." "I can't." He reached out, hesitant, trembling, his hand brushing the side of her face. She didn't move. "Couldn't. I told myself I'd never touch something pure again," he murmured. "But you made me forget what I am." She met his gaze, tears blurring her vision. "And what are you, Alejandro?" He smiled, hollow. The man who ruins what he loves. Outside, the wind howled. The vineyard groaned in the storm. Camila turned away, clutching the silver pendant against her chest. Then leave me before you do. I can't, he said again. You're the only thing that keeps me human. She faced him, fire flickering behind her pain. Then maybe you shouldn't be. For a moment, neither of them breathed. Then, headlights, dozens of them, cutting through the darkness, flooding the road with light. Alejandro's head snapped toward the window. They found us, Cortez. He nodded. Get upstairs now. I'm not hiding. He pulled her close, his voice breaking for the first time. Camila, please. Don't make me watch you die too. Her hand found his cheek. Then don't fight for me. He smiled faintly, sorrow in every line of it. I'm not fighting for you. What then? For what I lost the night I met you. Gunfire erupted outside. He pushed her toward the stairs. Go, she hesitated. Alejandro, now! The last thing she saw before she ran was his silhouette against the lightning, calm. Certain, doomed, when the shooting stopped. The house was fire and silence. Camil crawled through the wreckage, coughing, eyes burning from smoke. Alejandro! No answer, just the sound of rain and the taste of ash. She stumbled outside and saw the vineyard burning behind her. Her pendant had melted into her skin, the silver now part of her flesh, and as she fell to her knees in the mud, she realized what the fire had taken, not just the man who had made her feel alive, but the last part of herself that still belonged to the girl who dreamed. The fire in the vineyard burned for 3 days. By the time Camila Torres stumbled down the dirt road into the nearest town, the flames had become smoke, the smoke had become memory, and the memory had become something worse. Silence. She didn't remember running. She didn't remember the explosion, the bodies, or the way the rain turned the earth black. What she did remember was his voice, rough, urgent, breaking through the sound of gunfire. Camila, please. Don't make me watch you die too. Then nothing. Now she walked barefoot, her dress torn, skin streaked with ash. The silver pendant fused to her collarbone. The locals found her near the gas station, eyes vacant, body trembling. They called an ambulance. She didn't resist. When the nurse asked her name, she said quietly, I don't have one. The hospital was a blur of antiseptic light and machines that beeped too loudly. Camila stayed 3 days. No visitors. No questions. No memories she could speak out loud. On the 4th day, a man came to her room, tall, polished, his suit too clean for the dust of the valley. Miss Torres, he said with a practiced smile. My name is Miguel Reyes. I work for a friend of yours. Camila frowned. I don't have friends. Miguel tilted his head. Then let's call him a ghost. Her chest tightened. Alejandro. He's alive, Miguel said. Barely, but he's not safe. And neither are you. Camila's breath caught. Where is he? I can't tell you. Not here. Cortez's men are still looking for both of you. Then take me to him. Miguel hesitated. If I do, you don't come back. Not to the city. Not to this life. Camila met his gaze, her voice steady. That's the point. The road wound deep into the Sierra Madre Mountains, where fog curled between the trees like secrets refusing to die. When the car stopped, they were in front of an old monastery turned into a hideout. Stone walls, candles flickering through narrow windows. Inside, the smell of smoke and medicine hung in the air. Miguel led her to a quiet room. Alejandro was there, lying on a narrow bed, half his face bruised, chest wrapped in gauze. His eyes were closed, breath shallow but steady. Camila's knees went weak. She moved to his side, her fingers trembling as she touched his hand. You should have let me burn, she whispered. His eyes opened, dark, tired, but alive. I tried, he rasped. Didn't work. She exhaled a shaky laugh that turned into a sob. You're supposed to be dead. He smiled faintly. I keep disappointing people. Why didn't you run? I did. Toward you. She looked away, tears slipping down her face. Rosa's dead. Your men are dead. The city's burning because of us. Because of me, he corrected softly. You were just the only thing that made it worth it. Don't say that. Why not? Because you turn everything you touch to ash. He reached for her hand, weak but deliberate. Then let me turn myself to ash first. That night she stayed by his bed. The rain returned, tapping against the windows like an old song. She watched him sleep, the rise and fall of his chest, the flicker of pain that crossed his face. Even in dreams, she should have hated him, but the truth was heavier than hate. He'd destroyed her world, and somehow he'd become the only piece of it she still needed. When his eyes opened again, hours later she was still there. "Camila," he murmured. "I'm here. I thought I lost you." "You did," she whispered. "The girl you met at El Paraíso died with that fire." He studied her face, the hollow beneath her eyes, the small scar now cutting across her lip. "Then who are you now?" "I don't know," she said. "But I know I can't be her again." He nodded slowly. "Then let me help you be whoever comes next." She gave a faint, bitter smile. "And what do you get out of that?" He hesitated. "Peace. From what?" "From myself." The next morning, the world came for them again. Cortez's men, Miguel, burst into the room, shouting. "They found us!" Alejandro struggled to his feet, wincing. "How?" Someone talked. Camila's heart raced. "We can leave through the back." "No," Alejandro said. "They'll expect that." "Then what?" He loaded his gun, his hands steady despite the blood seeping through his bandages. "We end it here." She grabbed his arm. "You can't even stand." He smiled faintly. "Then I'll fall my way through it." "Please," he leaned forward, pressed his forehead against hers. "You made me remember what I was before all this. Let me finish it so you don't have to live like I did." Her voice trembled. "And what if I don't want you to die for me?" "Then live for me instead." The next minutes unfolded in chaos. Gunfire shattered the silence of the monastery. Windows blew inward. Men shouted. Alejandro fought like a ghost of who he'd been, precise, brutal, unstoppable. Miguel covered the rear, firing until his clip clicked empty. Camila ran, grabbed a fallen pistol, and fired through the smoke. When the dust settled, the courtyard was littered with silence and bodies. Cortez stood at the center, his black coat soaked with rain. "So this is where it ends," he said, raising his gun toward Alejandro. The king brought down by his heart. Camila stepped forward. "You don't have to do this." Cortez sneered. "He killed my brother. Took my men. Took my empire. Why not take his weakness too?" He turned the gun toward her. Alejandro moved first. One step. One shot. Cortez fell. And then another shot. Alejandro staggered. Camila caught him as he fell, the rain washing blood from his chest. "No, no, no," she whispered. "Stay with me." He smiled, weak, eyes glassy but calm. "I told you. Broken things still fly." "Don't you dare, Camila," he whispered, his hand brushing her cheek. "You made me remember how to feel. That's more than I ever gave anyone. Don't say goodbye." He smiled again, the storm fading from his eyes. "Then I won't." And just like that, the silence returned. The rain didn't stop for hours. By dawn, the monastery was quiet again, the earth heavy with smoke and grief. Camila buried him under the olive tree in the courtyard. No name. No stone, just the pendant she tore from her skin and placed in the dirt. Then she walked away, her body shaking, her heart burning. She didn't look back, because sometimes love wasn't about saving someone. It was about surviving what they left behind, and she had survived. The mountains were quiet again. Days bled into weeks. And Camila Torres kept walking south until the land turned soft and golden and the sound of war disappeared behind her. She didn't take buses anymore. She didn't speak her name. She didn't wear the pendant. It stayed buried with him, under the olive tree where the rain had turned to bloom. Every step she took felt like a prayer, whispered for a man who never prayed for himself. When she reached San Diego, the ocean greeted her with salt and wind, vast and merciless. The horizon shimmered in the light, endless, untouchable, the kind of view that made a person remember how small they were, how easily the world moved on without them. She rented a room near the pier, small and quiet, where the walls smelled of old paint and the sea. She got a job cleaning a cafe in the mornings and teaching dance to children in the afternoons, not ballet, not technique, Just movement. Freedom. They loved her immediately, her voice, soft, but sure. The way she told them that dancing wasn't about perfection, but about remembering how to feel alive when the world forgot your name. When one of the girls asked, "Miss Camila, why do you always close your eyes when you dance?" She smiled faintly. "Because sometimes," she said, "I see someone who never learned how to stop watching me." The city healed her slowly. She learned to breathe again without fear, to sleep without the echo of gunfire in her dreams. But some nights, when the fog rolled in from the ocean and the streets turned silver under the lamps, she would wake to a shadow at her window, a familiar presence that existed only in the rhythm of her pulse, and she would whisper into the darkness, "You promised not to say goodbye." Maybe ghosts keep their promises differently, because the world changed after he died. The Morales cartel fractured, then vanished. Rumors whispered through the underworld that Alejandro Morales had burned his own empire before he fell, dismantled every shipment, erased every account, freed every woman they'd held. No one knew who'd taken his place. Some said Miguel Reyes disappeared too, leaving behind only silence. And in that silence, Camila lived. One evening, nearly a year after the fire, she returned to the sea after class. The sunset painted the water in bruised gold, the tide humming low against the pier. She sat with her knees pulled to her chest, the wind teasing her hair, the world at last at peace. That's when she saw him, a man tall, still, standing at the far end of the pier. The light broke against his profile, sharp and soft all at once. Her breath caught. It couldn't be. She rose slowly, her heart pounding, her feet moving before her mind could protest. The closer she got, the clearer he became, the tilt of his shoulders, the scar beneath his jaw, the weight in his stance. He turned. It was him, older, thinner, but alive. Alejandro. Camila stopped a few feet away, unable to speak. The sound of the waves drowned every thought. "You're supposed to be dead," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "I was." Her throat closed. "How?" "Bullet missed the heart," he said. "Cortez didn't." She shook her head, tears blurring her vision. "I buried you. I know." "Then why?" "Because I wanted you free," he said. "And I couldn't be the man you loved and the man I was. I had to let you build a world where my name didn't follow you." She took a trembling breath. "You could have told me." He stepped closer, his voice soft, fragile. "Would you have stayed?" She couldn't answer. The truth sat between them. Yes. She would have. He smiled sadly. "That's why I didn't." The wind lifted, carrying the scent of the ocean and rain. She stared at him, the man who'd broken her and somehow taught her to live. "Why now?" He looked toward the horizon where the sun touched the edge of the sea. "Because I needed to see you one last time to know you kept dancing." Her voice trembled. "I did." He met her eyes, something unspoken burning in his gaze. "Then I can go." She stepped forward, tears falling freely. "And where will you go, Alejandro?" He smiled faintly, tired but at peace. "Anywhere I can't hurt you." She reached for him then, her hand finding his, warm, real. "You never hurt me," she whispered. "You just taught me what it costs to feel." His thumb brushed her knuckles, gentle. "And you taught me that feeling doesn't have to end in blood." They stood there as the sky dimmed. Two broken souls carved by love and loss, held together by the silence that had once defined him. Finally, he said, "You're not my weakness anymore, Camila." She smiled through her tears. "No, I'm your proof." He nodded. "Then this is goodbye." And before she could speak, he leaned in, just once, and kissed her forehead, slow, reverent, final. When she opened her eyes, he was gone. The pier was empty. Only the echo of the waves remained. Camila sat for a long time staring at the horizon. Then she rose, slipped off her shoes, and stepped into the surf. The water was cold, but she didn't flinch. She began to dance, slow, barefoot, her movements small and full of memory. The wind caught her dress. The waves kissed her ankles, and for the first time, she felt him not as a ghost, but as rhythm. Each step, each breath, was freedom. And when she stopped, she whispered into the night, "You were wrong, Alejandro. Broken things don't just fly, they learn how to land." The tide rolled in, erasing her footprints, carrying her voice out to sea. And somewhere, far beyond the horizon, a man with gray eyes finally closed his. The end.